There you go. Is it recording? Oh yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Well, it's a smaller crowd today, but welcome everybody. I'd like to introduce you, Roberto. Did I say that right, Roberto?
You got it.
Right on. Yeah, anyways, he's a software developer at Auto Canada. So, that being said, I'll let you take it away.
Hey everyone. Yeah, like I said, I like thank you for this opportunity. These things are usually fun to do. So, and I get like, for these meetings, you wanted to get a little bit more insight about, how things are out here in the world, in the tech world, and I'll be sharing a little bit about myself, a bit of a bio, and then I have a little bit of a presentation prepared. So, let's do it. So yeah, like mentioned, I'm a full stack developer at Auto Canada. A little bit about myself. I graduated from the BIT program in 2019, and then I was focusing more on the software developer role. You can do networking and software development. I kind of took the software development track. And then for my co-op, I did it at Johnston Group. It was a great company to start with. Learned a lot about like working with full applications, full stack applications and stuff, legacy applications as well. And then later on, I stayed there for about 3 years, and then a new opportunity came by, and that's when I moved to Auto Canada. So what is Auto Canada briefly? It's a multi-location automotive dealership, and we're operating both in Canada and the United States. And yeah, we sell cars, insurance, and do automotive repairs and such on certain locations. So as far as my job in career development, so what do I do in Auto Canada? Some of you might have heard full stack, and maybe I'll start there. So full stack meaning basically your role is to know everything from the data part, which is the server side, all the way up to where the user interacts with your website, which is the UI. So they call it full stack because you're doing basically back end and front end. In the backend, that's where your SQL is, your data. That's where you create and modify. You do CRUD. I'm sure you guys heard about CRUD, operations and stuff. And then you create APIs. And then front end is basically what you see in the website. So those are the templates, the buttons, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that we all love. So in Auto Canada, we actually use Azure as our server for serving our website. So that's where our database lives, and that's where our website lives. And luckily, I was able to do the Azure fundamentals and got certified. And that's something that Auto Canada offered me to do, and they actually paid for the licensing, which is $100, but it's still $100. So I appreciate them for doing that for me. And then, for the most part, backend, we do .NET, and that's something that you learn, I'm assuming, in Red River still. So we do a .NET framework. We use Entity Framework Core. So that's how we create our entity objects, our database, and then we use the PostgreSQL for our SQL. And then we kind of laid it out top and bottom. Bottom's like our front end. So, TypeScript and JavaScript, that's not going to go away. We use Next.js and then Tailwind CSS for our styling. And our main framework is React. So, so that's our tech stack. That's what we do, what we use on a daily basis. So, for me, it's been great working for like Auto Canada, because we're actually building a new site, which would be it'll be a platform where like they can sell used cars and handle the financing and all that. So that's exciting. We're going to be launching sometime in the future, and it'll be a nationwide launch. So it's great to know that the work that you do will be used by lots of people, and you're actually making an impact for the company. And I have a bit of a bullet point here, so I would just go ahead and, like for my career development right now, I'm still focusing on doing well at my job. But occasionally when I got time, I'll do some courses online. Doing advanced C sharp. Most companies out there, if they are .NET oriented, they're going to be vertically stacked. So you would have .NET, and then you would have ASP. You'll have Azure as your server. So usually, it's good to know about those application stack for most other companies. Knowing more about data structures and algorithms, that's something that really important. You might not know, but you actually use it quite frequently, even if you're not aware, because it could get a lot technical. And I'm sure here at Red River College, you guys are going to learn about that later on your, I think, final term. You can take up that course. I believe that's still available. But anyway, so yeah, like keep learning. And then right now in my free time, I do a little bit of, trying to create an e-commerce website for other people and do a little bit of freelancing, make a little bit of extra money. Yeah, so that's pretty much about me and a little bit of a overview of what I do. And I'll be opening up the floor for questions and stuff.
Looks like Julian has a question.
Yeah. Actually, since we're talking about full stack, and I think this applies for some of us here in database management too. We're required to actually make, well, not required. It's an extra. It's one of those things that you can do to gain marks, but it is still part of your total. So we're supposed to design also a front end that will work in conjunction with the data set. What would you say is like the easiest way around this? Like what should I do? Should I use C#.net? Like what in your I guess more or less experience, what would be probably the most easiest way to go about this?
It's tough to answer whether it's the easiest. I mean, the easiest way right now is MERN, which is like using MongoDB instead of the traditional SQL. I mean, when you use SQL, it's usually, right now, I assume you're using MySQL at Red River. Is that accurate?
It's T-SQL. We can use MongoDB, but that's also another option that we can do. But it's like not great in that same. So we can do Mongo. That's another set, and then we can also do a front end.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like the base database is like Microsoft SQL Server.
Yeah.
So what course is this?
That's database management too.
DBMS too.
Yeah.
So so this is like a project. It's not like you have to use SQL.
Yeah, it's like a final project.
Okay, well, I would suggest I would suggest doing SQL. Although it's pretty it's not an old tech, but it's still very, very relevant. Especially just, I guess, before you move on with the easier stuff, because with SQL, it's relational database. It's really important to know about that, because in the industry, most of them are going to be using SQL. MongoDB is more of like document oriented. It's object relation using JSON. And newer companies use that. Like even companies like Facebook. I think Twitter uses that. For like a certain part of their applications. But for the most part out here, it's usually SQL, and it's really important to know that like think about it as it might not be easy, but it's the right way to do it. And when you get into the industry, you might have a chance to learn about MongoDB, and they're both very, very good databases. But for project wise, I think the way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time, but I think mostly they're teaching you SQL right now. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so yeah, I would I would take advantage of that because then your instructors might be able to help you more. But yeah, it should be good. Yeah, I don't want to keep rambling, but in all honesty, they're both great. MongoDB or SQL. But yeah, I would stick for SQL right now for simplicity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hope I answered your question.
I got a little question for you, just out of curiosity. What do you, obviously full stack, you're doing both back end and front end development, but if you were to pick one that you would say maybe you enjoy more, do you enjoy the front end stuff more, or do you enjoy the nitty gritty SQL stuff more? Like, where do you find is the most fun to put your time into, like personally for you?
Yes. Personally, I love front end. I like to, I like to see doing the styling and all that. Recently, I just worked on integrating Google Maps API to our site. So, you get to work on things like that, pretty cool stuff that you can immediately see the results. I'm not saying, backend is super important too, and it depends on the person really. But for me, I enjoy front end more.
How long have you been at Auto Canada? Oh, sorry, Julian's got a question after you answer that.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
How long?
Yeah.
I started June of this year. They offered me a pretty it's a pretty good job offer, and like I said, I worked with some people there already, and they're really great people to work with, so I jumped ship. But yeah, so June, July, August, September, November, it's about 5 months.
Okay.
Five going 6 months.
Cool.
Yeah. So we were talking about basically currently right now you're doing a lot of like side learning as well. In college, I guess also as a how do I say this? When you were in college, how did you go about being able to take on these extra things and being able to learn? Because it's pretty tough with the amount of time and assignments they
Yes.
pull out.
Yes.
How do you get around something like that, or what did you do for time management?
So I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty hard. And being able to finish bit, that is a like an accomplishment in itself. What I would say is, some people would even go as far as say, there's no time for learning. And I have to explain this because obviously you have to learn something, but things change quickly. One chapter ends, another chapter begins for your topics and stuff like that. What I would say is look at your curriculum, look at your course outline, and that's going to be your guide. Because like I said, time goes by real fast, especially with Bit. You only have 2 years to learn all this, and the important thing is learn the basics. In the end, you'll be familiar with JavaScript, TypeScript. You'll be familiar with HTML, SQL, doing SQL scripts like doing join tables, querying a table, and for networking, you'll be familiar with creating a network topology, setting up IP addresses, IPv4, IPv6, and stuff like that. So you'll know the basics. But yeah, I wouldn't be, like I would just stick to the curriculum and how the course outline is laid out. Because that's your focus right now is just to pass the course, and then hopefully get to a co-op job that'll open the doors for you a lot quicker. Industry is great too. You learn a lot of stuff there. Could be a lot more than what you get for a co-op, but in the end, people expect you to know the basics. So don't get distracted with all the new technologies at the moment. Your focus is to finish and actually pass the course. After that, do whatever you want. But yeah, for now, just spearhead it and just focus on getting passing marks. And it's just a quick 2 years. After that, you'll have all the time to study other technologies. That's what I would advise for you guys.
Perfect. I guess if there's no one else with question, I'm just gonna keep asking.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
In terms of like hard skills coming out of BIT, what would you say you value the most coming out of the program?
Like for hard skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I would say, I would think about being able to work through a problem, creating a solution for a certain problem. And I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a generalized answer because it's like there's a point where you start thinking about things differently. As a network administrator or a software developer. But really, number one again, it's like time management. Number two is problem solving skills. Like being able to be like patient with your task. And again, like in reality, college is very fast paced. In reality, it's probably not going to be like that depending on your workplace. But it's BIT is going to be testing you to the extreme at some point with the workload that you guys are doing and with the amount of knowledge you guys currently know. So for me, yeah, so like planning, organization, and to be honest, like yeah, you continue learning more after you graduate. So it's not after you graduate BIT. If you feel like I'm not ready, you feel like I feel like I didn't really learn anything. Don't worry, that's just the imposter syndrome. It's something that everybody goes through. But yeah, I apologize for the more generalized answer, but
No,
that's
that's
what I would
good.
say about it.
I mean, I feel like that's something definitely I'm going through. It's just like, oh man, I feel like I don't really know what I'm exactly doing, kind of thing. I know that we were talking earlier, and we were talking about Johnson Group, and then that was a good company to start off with because you were able to, make it was more lax in the sense that if you made mistakes, it was just more like a slap on the wrist kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's really relieving. When you did your interview for your co-op, what was like the types of questions that I guess even not co-op, even Auto Canada, what were the types
Yeah.
of questions you had in your interview?
Cool. Auto Canada was a lot easier because I know the boss, but when I did my co-op, it really ranges, and there's not right way of preparing it. So this might be a good thing for some of you. It might be a bad thing, but every company is different. Well, first and foremost, you need to know your stuff, right? So like I said, know the basics. So how do you work with SQL? Creating like how APIs work. And then for networking, knowing your topologies, knowing what was that again? It's like I forgot the abbreviation, but just knowing how to set up your network and stuff like that. So just remember all the projects that you did. Remember all the homeworks that you did. So like I would just the best way to prepare is to stay relaxed, know that you did your homework, you did your projects. But interestingly enough, some companies doesn't focus on the technical skills. They focus more on your soft skills. So how would you handle situations like having a developer saying that your code is not right? How do you handle those conflicts? Some I did the interview at Manitoba Hydro, and they're more depending on the position that you applied for, and that was more of a database stuff. So they asked me about how do you query such and such. So yeah, just like if it's just be confident about yourself. They know that you're a co-op student, so they're not gonna expect too much. But that doesn't mean that you're just gonna wing it. Yeah, it really, yeah, just be confident, relax, and enjoy the interview. That's all I can say.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got a question for you. So I know you
Yeah.
mentioned on your free time you might catch yourself doing some freelancing or online courses. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people recommend a wide range of different online courses or certs available, but like, where's your go-to online course, or do you have any particular ones you enjoy, like Udemy or LinkedIn
Yeah.
Learning, like etc.?
Yeah, so I think Udemy is good. Just have to know, just try to look at what good courses are out there and look at the rankings. I'm able to right now I'm using Udemy Business through my company, so it's a little bit more of different courses and but yeah, Udemy is a good source. YouTube, it's a good source. Like everywhere. I usually frequent YouTube, Udemy, and for some troubleshooting, Stack Overflow. As long as you know what you're looking for, Stack Overflow is a good place to learn stuff as well. But yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things. But yeah, like even you don't have to spend money. Like just go to YouTube. There are like really good free resource there for building your site, building an e-commerce site, even for networking. Setting up your network. There's lots of resources on YouTube that for free, and that's the thing about our industry and about our career. It's the knowledge is out there. You don't have to buy a book or anything. It's
And
all out there.
a follow-up question to that. So you'd mentioned that you got like a Azure certificate or however that works, but is there any, on the topic of paid courses or paid certificates, is there any certificates that you would like to get yourself or that you would recommend someone going into the field to get? Like, I know a lot of the network people go for all the many different Cisco certs, but in terms of development, what would you get there?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the part where I started like referring to. So like if you're more into the networking industry, network administration, excuse me, I would really suggest getting the Cisco certifications. Those are really valuable in the long run. Having those Cisco certifications for more of like a software development. Azure, depending on the company that you work for, Azure Fundamentals, I think it's Azure 900, but it's not really required. I wouldn't stress on it. It's something that if your company is using Azure and they're gonna let you touch it, then they might ask you to do this certification, and that's the time where you start thinking about those. But yeah, like I would say for software development, it doesn't really do much if, depending on the company that you work with. It's good to have, definitely. There's value into it, I would say. But it really boils down to your interview. That's where, if we're talking about, getting hired and stuff. Yeah, it's just basically just trying to see how much you learn, about certain stuff. Like you can get a TypeScript certification, but I've done it a lot of times already. So maybe I'll get it someday, but my company doesn't really care if I have one or not. So yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Justin or Julian, who's gonna fight for it?
It can be Justin. That he had it up first.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Hey Roberto. So I just had a quick question about I guess your time and some of your favorite memories while you were in college. And then I also had a follow-up question after that one.
Okay. Sorry, come again?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just can you repeat the question?
I just wanted to know your like favorite memories in college. And then I was gonna touch upon I guess what do you think what was missing in the program and when you took it? Because I know that ticketing systems weren't in a thing, so I just wanted to ask about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's definitely a lot of things that isn't there. So I would say, in your free time, if you do ever get a free time, I would get into learning about more Git process. So learning about Git, That's super important. I can't think of a software development environment that doesn't use Git. And that's basically, like how you make changes to your code base and keep track of the changes. And, that's part of the, I would say, part of the agile process. So that's another thing, learn about agile process. And most software development group uses the agile approach. Something that's lacking also is, like you said, ticketing system, so Jira. And this might be, more of like learning, and then that's the whole point of co-op, right? So like you get a little bit of taste of that. Hopefully they are using that. Yeah. So yeah, working with Git, Jira, and then familiarize yourself with, I'm not sure if, is someone here under term 4 or I guess term 5 for, you can see I'm presenting, but.
It's Justin, I believe.
Justin, maybe I'll stop sharing for now.
Yeah, you can call me a term 5 student.
Okay, so you're learning, so I think you're learning Ruby.
If you took full stack, yeah.
If you took full stack, you're slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in the software development side, I would try to familiarize myself with frameworks, like front-end frameworks like React, Angular, or Vue. It's not necessary to learn all about them, but just the whole concept of it. Node.js, npm, Yarn, stuff like that. I know I'm throwing all these terms to you, but those are the things that you just want to like know that they exist. Because when I did my co-op, I didn't know any of those. I only knew HTML, JavaScript, SQL, but I didn't know any of those. So that was a kind of, and yeah, like especially Git. That's a big thing. Yeah. So. Yeah, like I said, it's 2 years. It's pretty quick. Things there's gonna be a ton of things that you wish you would have learned. I remember talking to Alan. You guys is he still there? Yeah. He's a really great instructor. He was my my web application instructor, and after co-op, I told him like I have to learn Angular at my workplace, and that's like it's like it's really a steep learning curve, and I'm like, but that's just how it is, but the core concept is there, JavaScript, it's all JavaScript, and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, I think Bit covers the basics, but just be prepared that it doesn't end there. There's more stuff after that. Love the questions, guys.
Yeah. So we all know that Bit is pretty diverse. Like there's multiple paths you can take outside of like when you're starting to get employed. Since you went to full stack, did you have like some sort of like backup plan, an exit plan if you needed to go somewhere else if you didn't get into full stack?
Like as like a software developer, or
yeah, like or like maybe you were planning on doing like just like being a networking engineer or something. Like, did you have a backup plan? Like, and what was that backup plan?
Yeah, I kind of did, and it's a funny story to touch on because coming into Bit, my ultimate goal was just to be able to fix computers, fix laptops. Like that's how much I don't know about anything, and I just wanted to be able to, be like the tech guy. Little did I know that I'm going to end up being a software developer, but so that was like my initial career path. And so like if software development didn't work out for me, I would challenge network administration. And like I said, I did both on my term 3, and I was able to pass both. So I enjoyed both of them. So that was my backup. But like going into it, I was fortunate enough to be able to get interviews for software development. And there's tons out there. So, and even if you don't get into full stack, they initially they would hire you as a software developer, and when you get in there, if you touch backend and you touch front end, you're already a full stack developer. But some companies, they would just get you to focus on the back end. Some, you'll just be a front developer. So yeah, it's like a free for all. Once you get into the company, you'll just do what they want you to do. So titles really start to lose their meaning when you get to that point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Justin.
Sure, since it got kind of quiet. So I guess I met Jeff Reimer at the Directions conference maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he was telling me that you guys got the options of actually choosing front end and back end when
Mm-hmm.
you did your co-op, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess some of my peers they got the option to. I'm guessing in terms of like working in a team environment, how was that like at Johnston Group, and kind of other skills that you learned while in your co-op?
Yeah. So when I got into Johnston Group, it was at the time when they moved to the new office and they were launching this new My Benefits website. So when I got in there, I didn't really get the option to do front end or back end, but I kind of fell into the back end part, just because their front end team is kind of like they're like busy doing this launch, right? So I kind of worked on the back end stuff, and I did a lot of unit testing, like co-op stuff. So I think for like when I started at JG, for most co-ops, they would put you in an environment where, if you make a mistake, that's okay. It's not going to kill our application, but at the same time, you're learning. So, unit test will be a good start, because at the same time, you start to learn about, the application and, how things work. How the team was, it was a mix of, back then we had a .NET team and we have a Java team. Now I think it's just all .NET. And then, so when I was in the .NET team, that's where they hired me for. And there's other people there that are senior developers, so you get a good spread of work experience. Some of them have been there for a decade, but their expertise are mostly legacy. So it doesn't mean that they know more than you. So don't be afraid. Some senior developers might have the advantage of seniority, but like I said, most of the time you're probably going to be know more about the newer stuff. So and then in the team, it was great. We were doing like more of like a agile like approach. I know we kind of made it a little bit flexible where we don't fully follow agile, depending on the management and how they want to get stuff done. But it was pretty relaxed. It's like no worries kind of environment. So and yeah, like the culture there, it's just take your time. We need to get this done, but don't sacrifice your work-life balance, and don't stay up at night kind of deal. So they will take care of you. So that was my experience. Yeah, I think Jeff is a manager now. Yeah, when I came in there, he was a team lead.
Yeah, good question. I probably asked that question and you probably told me.
Yeah, I think he's a manager now for application development, and then my old manager now is a director, I think. But yeah. So I guess I have questions about
pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think
Great.
that's it. I think we're good. And you had just the hour, right, before you gotta get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty flexible, but yeah, I'm open. for another 20 minutes or so. If you guys need me, but yeah, small group, so not a lot there.
Gotta get back to
Questions, I
developing
guess?
Auto Canada, hey?
Yeah, I actually have my Visual Studio just tabbed out. Yeah, it's fun. I'll show you my code base, but I can't. It's pretty, it's, yeah.
Top
We have to
secret.
sign
keep it hush
NDAs.
Yeah. 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 Right now, like it's pretty exciting because we're integrating WordPress for our technology. So, you know, if you're developing a website, you know, people don't have to go back in there and change stuff. They can just do it on WordPress, and then we will just render it into our app. So non-dev people can make changes to, you know, the content and stuff like that. So that's pretty fun. That's what I'm doing right now. Anyways, I heard we were just hiring another co-op, I think, this year. I forgot his name, but he's from I think he's from Red River. So maybe maybe I'll see him next year. But yeah, yeah. Thanks, Julian. I appreciate the time. Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, good luck on your careers. Like I said, just stay focused. Don't break. You know, it's just a 2-year course. You'll get there. And once you finish your course, the rewards are pretty good. You'll be, yeah, you'll be set.
That's
it's
reassuring.
yeah, it's a pretty good career, and yeah, they really pay well. So keep
Well,
that
thanks
as well.
for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Alrighty. I
And
guess
thank
that's
you
all then.
again. Yes.
All
All
right.
right.
Take care.